Keep on riding with us as we continue to broadcast the balance and defend the discourse from the Hip Hop Weekly studios. Welcome back to Civic Cypher. I am still your host, Ramses Ja.
He is still Ramses Ja. I am still Q Ward. You are still listening to Civic Cypher.
And we appreciate that. And I guess continuing with the theme, we're going to talk about Black creators choosing community over corporate gatekeeping and corporate rollbacks and corporations that continually turn their backs on their promises that they've made to ensure a more diverse, equitable, and inclusive world for their employees and for the world at large, because these are a lot of global corporations. And again, talking about Black creators choosing community over corporate gatekeeping means that we have to talk about some of those corporations. So be sure to stick around, because it is indeed the second half of the conversation that we're having today. And it's a tough conversation, but we do have to have it. But before we get there, it is time to be ABA, become a better ally, Baba. And today we're shouting out the Chicago Women in Trades group. There's been some time focused on what's going on in Chicago, but I think folks around the country can learn a little bit from this. This feels special. So I want you to check out CWIT.org. That's Chicago Women in Trade, CWIT.org. Their mission is to improve women's economic equity by increasing their participation in high-wage, blue-collar occupations traditionally held by men. They are a community working together to amplify voices and advance the goals of tradeswomen's movements. And they are welcoming and inclusive and embrace the gifts of diverse voices and life experiences. They provide a platform for learning, equipping women with the skills and support needed to overcome obstacles and realize their career goals. They offer unparalleled preparation and support for women to succeed in well-paying, in-demand construction jobs. They advocate for best practices and legal actions to address discrimination against women and people of color in the construction industry. They work to support the construction workforce system to retain women in the construction trades. These programs prepare individuals with the essential skills and knowledge to enter a registered apprenticeship of their choosing. The training provides a foundational understanding of various trades, covering basic technical skills, safety training, and career readiness. Donations to Chicago Women in Trades provides individuals with the training and resources to define their careers in the trades. Funding is used to equip and staff the training facility, advocate for women in the trades, and provide technical assistance and resources to industry partners. Their training programs are entirely free to qualified individuals looking to become professionals in the construction industry. Again, if you want to support, that's CWIT.org, Chicago Women in Trades. And, around here, we are super girl power. We love supporting women, and anybody else that's on that, then we're going to support them. How about that? All right. Black creators choosing community over corporate gatekeeping. We've told this story. It's a part of our lives, and we have to tell the story again. I'm going to let Q tell this story, because this isn't something that we celebrate and applaud from the sidelines. This is something that we actually had to do. Indeed, that is the origin story for this show. We are Black creators, Q and myself, and once upon a time, we had to choose community over corporate gatekeeping. So Q, the Cliff's Notes, I suppose, or whatever version of the story you feel is appropriate, but give a little bit of our background to our listeners so that this doesn't feel like something we're not familiar with.
So Ramses likes to throw me into the water. With
you tell the story better than I do.
Whatsoever. And he's now been telling himself for years that I tell this story better than him. And once he says it out loud, he deems it true. So here we are. Once upon a time, DJing, radio and club disc jockeys, radio and club MC for Ramses, not myself, was what we did full time, all the time. Whatever the most popular nightclub, we were the residents there. The local NBA team, it was us you heard when you came to the arena. The local hip hop radio station, it was our voices and our music that you heard when you turned it on. Our mixes and our ideas, our shows, our concepts. And we made a pretty good living, fed our children, paid our bills, and entertained our city. And it's interesting that for years, Ramses begged and pleaded with me to speak up, to turn the microphone on at the club, on the radio station, and in the arena. And I told him for years Absolutely not. I'm not
Not
going to
gonna
be
be
able to
able to
do it.
do it.
And I was holding fast to that because that just was not my ministry at the time. I do not enjoy the sound of my voice. And I was also incredibly nervous. So, mentally equated to stage fright. But finally, something happened and I was compelled to say something. And in the summer of 2020, the world watched a police officer by the name of Derek Chauvin kneel on the neck of and snuff out the light and life from George Floyd. And I was compelled to say something about that on the air. That was the first time I voluntarily spoke on the radio. It wasn't the first time I spoke because eventually Ramses convinced me to say yes. But the first time I spoke by choice and because I needed and wanted to was in that moment. And we got our hands spanked. We got called to the principal's office and discouraged from having those type of conversations on air. Our
That was a
job.
metaphor, by the way. Metaphor. It wasn't a real principal's office. It was a program director. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, yeah, I wasn't talking about school, so I was hoping I didn't have to insult the
I
listener.
just want to make sure that people know.
In such a granular level, but again, this is why Rams is better at telling the story. He tells you I'm better at it, then he has to tell me how to tell it.
Sorry.
Called into the principal's office because we were in trouble.
Yeah.
Our job was to entertain, to provide levity, to provide escape, and for there to be a light place for people to come and hear their favorite songs mixed in between their favorite advertisements. And we were supposed to create a non-polarizing, non-divisive, welcoming space for people to not have to deal with the more serious parts of their day. But this was too serious to not bring up. So Ramses tried to build a bridge and create a middle ground. How do we please all parties? How do we do our civic duty while also doing our jobs? And once upon a time, the almost always nonpartisan FCC, and maybe they still do, but required for broadcasters to require or to set aside some inventory for public service. And we thought that non-rated airtime would be a good time for us to provide a voice for community leaders, to let the community know what was going on outside. What do these terms that they hear, like defund the police, mean? When people are organizing and rallying and going to protest, what are they looking to do? To what end are they showing up for? We thought those that were doing that actual work could provide a more educated voice and educate the masses. And on our platform that would reach a little bit farther than the bullhorns that we took to those protests, some real good work could be done, even if it was at a non-rated hour where we weren't getting optimum listenership. And all parties involved said that was a good idea. And I think that the other parties involved, not named Q and Ramses, thought that that idea would just blow over because people would, as they typically do, move on. And the issues outside will go away and they would no longer be held to the promise that they made. But if anybody actually knows Ramses Ja, he is maniacal in his pursuits. If he makes you a promise, he will die to keep it. If you make him a promise, he will die making sure you keep it. And following up with the promise that they made us, Ramses was informed that our radio station, our programming director, and everyone else who was in charge did not want to do what they deemed a black show. Intentional pause there, because black people do not make up a large part of the population in Phoenix, Arizona. So there was a lot of thinking that they didn't do before making that statement. Once again, if you know Ramses Ja, you know he was not the one or the two to say that to. He was the right one and the wrong one at the same time. Also, to take community outreach and to assign it black was also interesting because that's never what we said. even though the station that we were at was a hip hop station where all the music being played was black music. It was interesting that they assumed that position because they could have said, we don't want you guys to do a political show. We don't want you guys to do a polarizing show. We don't want you guys to do a divisive show. They chose the word black, and they chose really the only word, as I tell this story in hindsight, that would have forced us to resign. Because we probably would have understood what they meant if they said it different. But we probably could have lived with ourselves by continuing to just go to work and do what we were doing. They compelled us to make a decision that had to be made. Because if you do not want black, you do not want us, full stop. At the end of that meeting, Ramses resigned on our behalf and then called me and told me that we quit. Yeah. And he made a decision that the promises that we made to our community and the lives that we lived to that moment, you know, both active members in NAACP as collegiates and as adults, you know, the National Panhellenic Council, Phi Beta Sigma fraternities, the Black Student Union, etc., was work that we'd always done. But we did that work as community servants, not as activists. And this decision forced us into the activist space because our community was more important than our bottom line. Yeah. We did not have a plan B. We did not know what was next. I had a newborn baby, and my brother had only ever worked in radio. So I never had a job. We made that decision to stand on principle, to stand for what we believed in, to be our parents' sons, to be our children's fathers, and to be proud of ourselves when we looked in the mirror. We did not know that it would work out to the tune of 151 radio stations, a partnership with the largest audio media content provider on earth, and our message being heard by millions of people across the country and across the world, as we've been on news broadcasts in every hemisphere at this point. But we didn't know it would work out. Yeah. So it seems like, in retrospect, an easy decision to make, but there was no plan B. We did not know where we would land. We are just grateful that it worked out this way. But this is not something that we talk about in theory. This is very, very real practice, a very, very real decision that we made. And this career has put us in a position to face decisions like that over and over again. All the time, yeah. For much larger sums of money, we've had to say no.
Well, well said. That's why you tell the story so well. I love it.
Nonsense.
But, you know, we are not the only, you know, Black creators that have chosen community over, you know, corporate gatekeeping, corporate greed. But we understand what it takes to go into that. So, you know, there are independent, you know, Black filmmakers and maybe Black filmmakers who just have the right voice. Ryan Coogler comes to mind. They're writers, they're podcasters, they're thriving outside of, you know, traditional systems. You know, Issa Rae comes to mind. And these people build and sustain platforms that create real meaningful cultural impact without like gatekeeping platforms or without the funding that you would get from DEI initiatives. And when you look at the people that have pulled funding from DEI initiatives, people like Google, and I'm going to share kind of this latest development with them, you start to understand how important these people are to ensuring that people are reminded continually that this is not normal, that this reality is not normalized. This doesn't become the new norm. There are people that speak out against it and say, hey, this is wrong. We are better than this. We are capable of more than this. This country, what is the reason for all of this capitalism for all these years and this American exceptionalism that we've exported around the world? We've exported democracy. We defend democracy. You know, we install democratic governments. What is the benefit of it? Of all this hard work? Everybody still works 40 hours a week, although there's machines that do the jobs and robots and now AI doing jobs that used to take individuals a week to do. Now a robot can do it in a matter of minutes, right? And no, and people don't work less, don't make more money. All of the wealth is concentrated. So what is the point of all of it, if not to become a better country for the people, if not to have universal health, if not to have a less burdensome go at life, not to be happier? What is the point, right? So when I say things like, I believe that this country can be better, and that we should not be normalizing this version of reality. And there are other creators who are doing the same thing, Black creators that are doing the same thing. This needs to be mentioned. So I'll share again, because I keep saying it. This is from webpronews.com, just because I think that they've captured this brilliantly. And we're talking about Google, the latest to bend the knee. And it's a heartbreaking story, but, bear with me. Google's recent decision to remove more than 50 diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI organizations from its list of funded nonprofits marks a significant shift in the tech giant's approach to social initiatives, aligning with broader industry trends and political pressures under the current administration. The move, uncovered by the Tech Transparency Project, involves dropping groups whose missions emphasize terms like diversity, equity, inclusion, race, activism, and women, resulting in the exclusion of 58 entities from Google's previous top-funded list. This list comes amid reports that the company is prioritizing artificial intelligence investments over DEI efforts, as detailed in a recent CNBC article. Okay, real quick while we're here. If Google is prioritizing artificial intelligence over DEI efforts, I think that they've abandoned their corporate culture that suggested that, they put people first and people were at the center of what made Google great and all that sort of stuff, right? Indeed, every company that has adopted this posture, I think that they have to abandon that. Your people don't make you great if you don't stand by your people. They literally dropped groups whose missions emphasize terms like, I don't even have to go through the rest of them. I can just say women. That's half of all people. That's actually more than half of all people. All right, I'll continue with the article. Insiders familiar with Google's operations suggest this pruning is part of a larger cost-cutting strategy, but it also reflects the influence of President Trump's anti-DEI stance, which has encouraged corporations to reassess such programs. For instance, the U.S. Department of Agriculture's termination of over 145 DEI-focused awards earlier this year, saving up to $148.6 million, set a precedent that tech firms appear to be following, according to a USDA press release. The cuts at Google echo a pattern seen across Silicon Valley, where commitments made in the wake of the 2020 George Floyd protests are being rolled back. Back then, Google pledged sweeping DEI advancements, including a 30% increase in leadership representation for underrepresented groups by 2025. A goal the company has now quietly abandoned, as reported by MSNBC in February. This retreat is not isolated. Meta and other tech giants slashed DEI budgets by up to 90% in 2023, per a CNBC analysis from that year. I'd imagine it's been slashed more, because that was in 2023. They slashed budgets by 90%. All right, let's continue. Industry analysts argue that such decisions could hinder innovation by narrowing talent pools, contradicting research from firms like McKinsey that links diverse teams to better performance. How about that? Yet, with economic pressures mounting, Google reported slower growth in ad revenue last quarter. The company may see DEI as expendable, a sentiment echoed in a Forbes piece from late 2023. So this is the reality that we're living in. And Google was, I held Google to be a human company, like Apple is a company for human beings. All people use this service, and as a result, it's accountable to all people. For them to abandon programs that provide equal access, because that's effectively what diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, that's the thrust of those programs. Equal access to women, again, that make up half of all people. And then when you break it down by race and all the other things let me go back to this so we can say it one more time. dropping groups whose missions emphasize terms like diversity, equity, inclusion, race, activism, and women. Okay. So you end up with rather more than half of the people. So, again, people that say that, or these companies rather, that say that the people are their strength and they draw their power from their people. I'm sure they're still going to try to use that language, but the fact of the matter is that, I mean, the proof is in the pudding right here. I know that, you sent this over, so I just want to make sure that I set aside a little bit of time just to get any final thoughts from you before we wrap up, Q.
This is just more hyper-normalization of a dystopian reality. They're presenting this as some type of fiscally responsible decision for the fourth most successful company in the history of Earth. Google's parent company is worth $2.37 trillion. This is somehow a cost cut that'll save them $100 million. That number actually means very little when your net worth is $2.37 trillion.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not saving them enough money to make sense. They're willing to just give up on the rest of humans. We don't even have to break it down by group. If you don't own a significant amount of these companies, you don't matter. And like every company is starting to get there now. We're not going to have options of other places to eat, other places to find information, other places to find clothes. If every company does this, we're stuck supporting those who are bringing about our demise. So again, we are living during the hypernormalization of an already dystopian reality. And it is a disgusting and scary reality for us.
Yeah. Well, stay woke because you might find something that we haven't found yet. But for now, our job is to let you know about it and give you alternative ways of thinking about it so that you can have alternative ways of discussing it and make the changes in your immediate reality that you're able to make. And so hopefully we've done that today. And we appreciate you riding with us. It's an honor to have been your host, Ramses Ja.
He said that like this is over. I hope it's not.
No. I'm just saying today, for today's episode. Sorry.
I thought that was the farewell show.
No, nothing like that.
Yeah, I go by the name Q-Board. Like, subscribe, share, comment, give us a rating. Give us 5 stars though. Give us all the stars.
Yeah, we need that.
Need it. And keep tagging in with us, man. I am Q-Ward on all social media.
And follow us at Civic Cypher on all social media as well. All right. And until next week, y'all. Peace.